You're watching SEC Saturday on Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv, presented by CHI Memorial.
Hello, everyone. After a big, disappointing loss to Alabama, Tennessee is on to the Wildcats of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The Gamecocks of South Carolina head to Kyle Field to take on the Aggies. But our game of the week is traveling down south as going to Jacksonville, Florida, as a matter of fact, for the largest outdoor cocktail party in the world. It's the number one team in the nation, taking on those pesky Gators from Florida. Georgia, Florida Hate Week. And this is SEC Saturday, presented by CHI Memorial. And, Josh, I feel like everybody else abandoned us, and here we are.
Well, I think Jason's running late. Hopefully he'll show up. But, I mean, for a man that, man of the cloth that, doesn't really have a job, other than on Sundays.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, and Shelton, big loss against Alabama this week. And I think he actually went down to the game at Tuscaloosa. And
I saw a picture.
And don't know if he made it back or not. So, not here. So, who knows where he's at. So,
not here.
Great to see you.
Well, hey, good to see you. And so I tell you what, let's get into this about, and I know a lot of our audience thinking about the UT game last week, thinking about the big loss at Alabama because it started so well,
Oh, my goodness. 20-0 going into halftime. Tennessee really, and we've talked about this a lot recently about how what team shows up for Tennessee. Is it a Tennessee offense that's on fire? Is it a Tennessee defense that plays well? And we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I missed last week's show, but we talked about this 2 weeks ago about what team will show up, what Tennessee team will come to the table. And on Saturday, last Saturday, that first half, you're sitting there thinking, man, this might be two in a row. This might be two in a row. ESPN, I was looking earlier today, ESPN had Tennessee at a 76% win rate at halftime.
Oh, at halftime.
At halftime.
Yeah.
76% that they were going to win, and they were up 20-7 against Alabama. Tennessee, all they had to come out and do was just play a decent second half, and they probably would have won that game. And they didn't. I mean, the turnovers, the play calling, the defense was just pitiful. And if you're a Tennessee fan, which again I'm not, right? So I'm not a Tennessee apologist like Shelton is or Jason is, and so I kind of look at this as an outsider looking in, but somebody who lives here, goes to Tennessee games their entire life, family is huge Tennessee fans. I don't know where that blame goes to. Does it go to Heupel? Does it go to Tennessee's offensive coordinator? They lost their offensive coordinator that was so great for them. The play calling is back kind of on Heupel a little bit. Does it go to Joe Milton? Does it go to the defense for not stopping Alabama any of those times? To me, I put it on Heupel for continuing to go with Milton. You're this far in the season, and we've talked about this on SEC Saturdays for the entire year. When is Nico going to play? I mean, you heard that in the first two games. They were chanting in Nashville for Nico. They were chanting in Knoxville for Nico. And you get this opportunity now where you lose this game to Alabama, and really that was kind of an offensive giveaway. Do we see Nico this week against the Wildcats? I don't know. Time will tell, but there has to be a change at some point, sometime.
So for those listening on radio, Josh Rogers with me here, Steve Hartline, SEC Saturday, presented by CHI Memorial. So you're going to lay the blame of the loss to Alabama, and I'm just asking here, on the fact that pretty much on Milton. Is that your thought?
Well, I mean, I think that you have to some, and he even said in post-game interview this past week that, he saw his team going down. And, as the quarterback, hey, look who it is. Yeah. He saw his team going down in that second half. And while they were going down and doing what they were doing, he said that he didn't do enough as a captain of that team to bring his team back up. And for me, I don't know if you blame Milton completely, but I think you put that on Heupel. What really ticks me off is when coaches blame refs. Right, like these play call, like all the play calls that they ran the ball 9 out of 10 times, that they didn't rush well, that Milton didn't throw well, that their defense didn't stop Alabama at all in the second half. We're going to blame the refs for bad calls, and that's what lost us the game. So I think it's a mix between Heupel and Milton.
Jason Cox joins us now. Jason, we're reviewing last Saturday. What do you make of the UT loss, and what's to blame here?
Well, I mean, as a Tennessee fan, anytime you come out of the locker room like that and you get up on your arch nemesis, Alabama, like that, you're feeling good, and that's just a game you've got to win at that point. And so, there's a thing called battered Vols syndrome that a lot of us have, and I've talked to a lot of people this week, and they just said it was just no surprise, and it wasn't a surprise for me either. He got up big, and he's like, well, this thing's not even close to over, because we're not going to be able to run away with this game. And at the end of the day, I mean, I wasn't even mad about it. It was just, I guess I've just gotten used to it over the years. It's been a few years since we've experienced that, but first of all, it was always going to be tough to win in Tuscaloosa. The referees didn't cost us the game. They weren't good, but they didn't cost us the game. Milton played really well in the first half, but as well as he played in the first half, he played that bad in the second half. We didn't run the ball at all, which has been our bread and butter. Jalen Wright has been an absolute monster. His longest run on the day was 5 yards. And I think also I've thought a lot about the second half adjustments. Alabama made adjustments, and then we didn't ever adjust to their adjustments. I think we had a great game plan coming in. Our guys were ready to play, but coming out of the locker room, once we saw their adjustments, we didn't do anything different. And it was just like, was it the second quarter at Florida? It was a disastrous third quarter in Tuscaloosa. And that's where we're at. I mean, I think I do think Alabama had more talent on the field. I think we saw that, especially in the second half. But at the end of the day, you come out of the locker room and do what Tennessee did in the first half, you've got to win that football game. You have to.
Certainly so. We're going to take our first break here. It is SEC Saturday presented by CHI Memorial. Don't forget CHI Memorial Convenient Care will take care of your needs there at Public Shopping Center, Polo Parkway in Cleveland. They are open 7 days a week, and they're for you. Coming up, we will start looking around at other games today in the SEC with the guys' picks on SEC Saturday, and we're back in just a moment.
You're watching SEC Saturday on Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv, presented by CHI Memorial.
It's 104.1 and MixTV.tv. It's SEC Saturday, presented by CHI Memorial. All right, we are, of course, as I said, joined by Josh Rogers and Jason Cox as we are here today and looking forward to it. All right, let's get into the picks now. It's South Carolina and Texas A&M. And Josh, I want to begin with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is this is going to be an opportunity for a really, really great game. Texas A&M, I think, coming off of a bye week this past weekend, they have lost their last two games to Alabama and to Tennessee. And pretty close losses too. I think that Tennessee game was like 20-13. They lost by 6 to Alabama, and they're 4-3. They've got this opportunity to kind of have a bounce back game against a South Carolina team that really hasn't played very well. I mean, losses to Georgia, very close game. Tennessee, losses to a very close Florida game, and then really got blew out this past week by Mizzou, who is, I'm telling you, Missouri might be the best team in the SEC East. I mean, I honestly think they might be better than Georgia. And Georgia has kept this number one spot just because of their history, but Mizzou is phenomenal. And South Carolina really got blew out this past week by them. South Carolina is kind of one of those teams where if the ball had just fell certain different ways, that 2-5 record could be kind of turned around a little bit. But for me, I think with Texas A&M coming off those 2 losses to Tennessee and to Alabama, being at home at Kyle Field, 12 o'clock, 12th man, I think that it's going to be a long, long day for South Carolina and a long trip home.
Yeah, I think that if Shane Beamer hadn't gone on that heater at the end of last year where he knocked off Tennessee and knocked off Clemson, I think he would be in real trouble right now. And I think his seat's getting real warm, but I don't think he'll get fired this year. But they are not playing well, 2-5. They have to go to Kyle Field, and A&M's not playing great, but that's a difficult place to play. It's just hard to play on the road in the SEC.
Oh, absolutely.
South Carolina has zero momentum going into that. Of course, they had zero momentum going into the Tennessee game last year. Yeah. I mean, we really thought we would roll them. And it was completely opposite. So unless you just get one of those one-off games where they play the absolute best game of the year, I think Texas A&M wins this one fairly easily.
I'm so thankful that you're here and I don't have to do this whole show just with me and Heartline. But I am sad that our other cohort who shows up half the time, that's what his new nickname is Halftime Shelton.
Wow.
Because Tennessee only plays till halftime, and he's only here half the time.
Wow.
So Halftime Shelton. I wish that he was here to pick this game because he hates Shane Beamer with a passion.
Yes, he does.
And Jimbo Fisher has been on his hot seat for 3 years. So who this might
Ohio State, Penn State last week for him. Yeah. He hates both of them.
Oh, absolutely. James Franklin. I mean, unbelievably. Yeah. So for Shelton, I'm going to pick the lesser of two evils here for him. I'm gonna pick the Aggies to win because he just hates Beamer so much. So.
What about Jason?
Yeah, I think Texas A&M wins this one probably by 3 touchdowns.
All right. Now it's time to talk about Mississippi State. They go on the plains to Auburn. That a 3:30 game on the SEC network started earlier. So tell you, Jason, let's start with you. Mississippi State at Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, very difficult to ever go to the plains. It looks like a 3:30 game, so it's not a night game, which helps. But I do think that as Gus Malzahn builds that Auburn program, they're going to get better, but they're going to pass where Mississippi State is right now. I like Will Rogers, Mississippi State's quarterback. I don't know how much he's got around him, and I don't know that they can go to the Plains and win, but this has the opportunity to be an interesting game. Give me Auburn simply because it's at home.
All right, we're going to take actually, Josh, I guess we've not heard from you yet.
No. So listen, Hugh Freeze has done an unbelievable job at Auburn this year. 3-4 on the year. I mean, he's done an unbelievable job of making a really decent Auburn team look really, really bad. So let me let me just say that, okay? So he's done a really good job of making a decent Auburn team look really bad. 4 straight losses. Okay, Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, and Texas A&M. They started off this season hot, 3-0, and then has just went completely downhill. Mississippi State, who would ever thought that Arnett would have that team rolling, being 4-3 and actually kind of fighting for a decent spot in the SEC West. It is hard to play on the plains. Georgia saw that. Against Auburn. Auburn was a really good football team that took Georgia really to the last kind of quarter to really kind of take over that game. But I hate Auburn with a passion, but I'm going to have to pick them. Give me War Eagle to win this game.
Whoa, that is a surprise. All right, coming up, we'll do a final segment as we continue on this SEC Saturday on Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv, presented by CHI Memorial. Sit tight. We're back in just a moment.
You're watching SEC Saturday on Mix 104.1 and MixTV.tv, presented by CHI Memorial.
All right, welcome back, everyone. A final segment of SEC Saturday, presented by CHI Memorial. I'm Steve Hartline with Jason Cox and Josh Rogers. And it's time to hear from the guys for a couple of more picks here. And with that, I want to begin with Jason this time. Here we go, Tennessee at Kentucky. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff here on Mix 104.1. It's also on the free Mix 1041 app, that free download from our website if you don't have the Mix app, mymix1041.com. It's free thanks to CHI Memorial. Nighttime in Lexington.
Yeah, I will never again pick Tennessee to win at Florida, and I will never pick Kentucky to beat Tennessee in football. In fact, I'm going to go this far. Tennessee beats Kentucky in football, and they beat Kentucky in basketball 3 times this year.
Whoa,
So we're gonna absolutely put it on.
What do you want to bet on that?
I don't know. It's Mayfield Milk or something.
Oh, we could do that.
Well, Josh lost his NIL deal. He's still bitter.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you?
Yeah, I did.
I'm sorry to hear
big
that.
deal,
So, listen,
Morality clause.
you know that
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
you and Shelton been hanging out too long. Huh?
Way too
Oh,
long.
here we go.
So, here,
Birds
listen.
of the feather flock together. You know.
That they say that Kentucky's offensive line is the big blue wall, but really outside of one game where they ran for almost 300 yards against Florida, which was unbelievable. I mean, their rushing attack hasn't been great, and their quarterback, who they were really, really excited about getting from Wake Forest, has been one of the worst in the SEC. He's down there with our guy Joe Milton, no doubt about it. So I just don't really believe in this Kentucky team. I don't really believe in the Tennessee team either, but Kentucky doesn't beat Tennessee in football, and I'm not picking them to do that. Give me Tennessee by 7.
Commissioner Rogers.
Where's the one place you don't want to play at night in the SEC East?
Oh, in the East.
In the SEC East, where's the one place you don't want to play at night? And
Georgia.
You don't want to play. No, shoot, anybody play at Georgia at night? They're horrible there. Yeah. We've always said
Horrible.
the one place that you don't want to play is in Lexington at night in the cold.
It's because it's like 5 degrees.
And it's going to be a 7 o'clock game, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be in Lexington, and Ray Davis from San Fran, California is about to run all over the Vols this week. Ray's got 111 carries, 781 yards, 8 touchdowns. Give him 3 this week to make it 11 touchdowns on the season against Tennessee. And I think that this is the end. I think that at halftime they will make a switch, and Nico will be the quarterback for the rest of the year. That is my prediction. I think Joe Milton is done after this game. I think that he will continue to be a captain. He will continue to be a leader on this team. But give me Nico to finish this game and to finish the rest of the season for Tennessee. I think that Tennessee has, right now the matchup predictor is 70.9% Tennessee is going to win this game. But the guys in Vegas say that this is a 3.5-point game. Over under 51 points. 51 points. So you're talking, 25, 21, something around there is going to be the score at the end of the game. Kentucky can score way more than that. Give me my Wildcats to come home and tear up on some Tennessee Volunteers.
My Wildcats.
My Wildcats.
What a joke. All right.
Hey, we're going to pick around the league, pick our game,
Yeah.
our other
well,
game?
you want to do that prior to the last game?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it.
All right, go ahead. You got a game that you're looking at this week?
I'll take it to the Ivy League while Jason picks
ahead.
a game and you pick a game outside the SEC.
Okay.
I'm looking at Dartmouth and Harvard, and they're going to play apparently at Harvard College. So I'm gonna pick Harvard for my friend Dr. Paul Kahn. Paul and Darlia remind all of the Lee alums, according to the latest Torch magazine, they're hosting a special dinner for you the first week of November. So enjoy that. Harvard over Dartmouth. Josh, over to you.
My 12 o'clock game, the game that I'm going to be watching this week, my game of the week is Florida State Wake Forest. Watch out for those Demon Deacons. Mitch Griffiths, all right, he's from Virginia, but he's got ties to Wholesale Supply Group, all right. His cousin works for us. He's one of our managers here, been employed with us for a super long time. His other cousin, his dad, the dad and the son, Cam Norwood, played at Walker Valley, part of the Norwood family.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Give me Wake Forest to upset Florida State this week.
Oh, Lord.
And look, Wake Forest has played a good game, has played great games throughout the year. They've been close a whole bunch of times. This game is at home at Wake Forest. This is a sleepy game, a sleepy pick. Florida State right now, they say it's a 20-point favorite in this game. Ooh. Right? So anytime that a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ranked team is a 20-point favorite in a game against another team in their league, it gives me pause. I got Wake Forest small margin. Wake Forest by a field goal to beat Florida State and knock them from those rankings.
That's
What's
a pretty
your game,
good pick.
Jason?
That's a pretty good pick. I picked Duke to upset Florida State last weekend, and that didn't work out. So I just an interesting game. Oregon at Utah, both really good teams. It would be interesting. I'll be pulling for the Ducks because they're our number 2 team in our house, and mainly because my son likes them. And but I mean Utah's done some good things this year, so I'll be watching that one, and I'll take Oregon to win.
Well, it's the so-called largest cocktail party in the world, and it's a great rivalry. I'm going to begin with Josh. Georgia and Florida in Jacksonville. Now, who's the home team? Do they switch that off, or what is it?
So
do they have one?
No, not really. I mean, Florida is this year, I guess, is the proverbial, what they call the home team, but it doesn't really. They split the stadium half, 50-50, and it goes off of coin toss to see who wins. They
you all
swap
hate
sides.
that? Like as Georgia fans,
Absolutely.
y'all hate that? I figured
Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst thing that you can do. And Kirby has fought against it for a while, and they want to change it back to where it's a home and away, where it'll go back to Jacksonville, go back to Athens, because in past this was the biggest game of the year for Georgia every single year. Was this game?
Yeah.
And because it's in Jacksonville, you can't have recruits there. Because of cost of travel, paying for hotel, all that kind of stuff. And so it really takes away that recruiting factor away from this game, where a lot of Florida guys who are down in Miami, down in Florida, that's Georgia, the Atlanta area, and Florida and Texas and California are like the 4 biggest hubs for high school football players, right? And so to be able to have Florida come up to Athens and be able to get some of those Florida guys up there and be able to see Georgia beat Florida at Athens in the atmosphere, it's always big. This game this week is probably one of my most nerve-wracking games this week. It's a 2 remote thrower is what I'm calling this now. I'm waiting for Austin to create a slide, for me. But this is a 2 remote thrower this week. I will throw the remote at least 2 times
Over
at the
under
TV.
2.
Over under 2.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take the over.
My biggest issue with this is that Florida is, like you talked about, the pesky Gators. They're sneaky. They play well. And it's all about momentum in this game, and Georgia just has not had any momentum this year when it comes into the first half. They somehow figure out how to stay around and sneak around and stay in these games, and they're the number 1 team in the nation because they won 2 national championships. And Michigan is stealing signs and going to jail and going to be kicked out of the NCAA and all this, but Brock Bowers is out 4 to 6 weeks with injury, which isn't really that big of a deal for Georgia. They haven't really targeted him a whole lot. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year, but they're not really big-time touchdowns. Florida.
Woo! Oh my goodness.
That must have hurt.
You
Jason.
sound like a Tennessee fan in like the mid-'90s, early 2000s. That's what you sound like, just so you know.
I don't understand how Alabama fans have done it this long.
I know. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard being on top. Here's what I know. I know the last 2 years that Georgia has sleptwalk a whole lot through games they just weren't interested in. They're going to be interested in this game. Carson Beck has, the Georgia offense hasn't been shooting off fireworks this year, but listen to these stats. 173 out of 235 passes, 2,147 yards already, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions for a first-year quarterback. The guy's putting together a really, really solid season. It hurts that Bowers is out, but outside of that game, and you can tell me who it was, where they had to come back and win late, and he just kept targeting the tight end over and over again. They haven't used him a ton, but still, I mean, he is the safety guy. He's the safety valve. You know you got him. You can go to him. Georgia's not going to sleepwalk through this game. They're going to come out ready to go. But this could be a growing up party for these Gators. I mean, it could be a coming out party for Billy Napier, announcing himself as being an upper echelon coach, an upper echelon team. But I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think the Dogs show up. I think they're excited early on, and they win this game by 10 points.
All right, guys, thanks so much. It's SEC Saturday presented by CHI Memorial. Let's get you to the Vol Network. You're listening on the radio as we get ready for Tennessee at Kentucky. See you next week.